So ladies, in this video, I want to talk to you about what you're not told about anxiety and how it affects you, how this is affecting and changing and running in your life. So the very first thing that is the absolute fundamental foundation for everything is knowing that you are a female and your body, your hormones, your anxiety works completely differently to what it does in the male body, male mind, male hormones. Okay, it is vitally important that you understand that you are different. You run a completely different program, a different hardware, if you like, than what men do. So, for example, from the moment we're born, we have hormones and they are fluctuating like this tiny little movement every single day of every week of every month. We are releasing hormones. Now, it doesn't just happen when we start our period. It's that this hormone then goes to this great big fluctuation and happens like that until we hit menopause. And or if we have a hysterectomy or anything else like that and we no longer have a period, we still have these hormones that are fluctuating throughout our body, being released every single day of every week of every month of our entire life. We have these hormones being released. And they affect our emotions. Our emotions and our hormones are so deeply tied together. Okay, this is a big thing. This is why women struggle a lot more. I'm not saying that men don't struggle with anxiety, but we struggle in a different way and we function in a different way and we process these emotions in a different way, which makes our anxiety different to how the male body works with what they've got. So they have testosterone, it's being released. When they hit puberty, they have this fluctuation. Then their testosterone is like this. It is stable, it is even, instead of the crazy hormones changes that women have, okay? So to explain it in a different way, we all know technology. I don't think there's a person in the world, especially the ones coming up now, that doesn't own a phone or a tablet or a computer of some sort. So if you have an iPhone or an Android, they have a different hardware. They function differently, and therefore they have different software, different apps that only fit on their specific hardware. So iTunes can only be downloaded on an iPhone. They're not compatible with an Android. Think computer, you have your Apple Mac or I have a what is it, a HP Envy. Okay, it has Windows 10, but there are lots of different Windows applications, but the Windows can't be downloaded on an Apple Mac. And the functionality of the Apple Mac is different to how I work with my computer. The same with your Samsung Tab to, what are they, iPad. You know, they're different. So you've got all these eyes over here and then the Androids over here, man, male, female. Okay, they have the hardware that was built just for them. There is functionality that is different, and therefore the programs, the apps, and the way that they process, the way that they move, the way that you interact is different. You must know that as a woman you are different, and your hormones play a huge part in how you, or the verity and strength of your anxiety, and how you are going to be able to work through that, okay? Now, something else, and I have other videos going deeper into that and deeper into your cycle, so that you can know there will be a week, a couple of days of the month that are deeply, intensely more likely to be in anxiety, or to feel that anxiety a lot deeper than you do on other days. There will be weeks where you feel okay, and there will be days in the week that you feel dreadful, and it will be in relation to where your cycle is. So I do have videos on that. Let me know if you want to go deeper into that and know more about it. The other thing is our inherited epigenetics, our the emotions and the anxieties that we have stored in our DNA. So just like we have our bent pinky finger or the color of our eyes or the physical traits that have been inherited from our mother and our grandmother and our grandfather, we have inherited their traumas, their emotions, their beliefs, the pains, the hurts, the fears, the anxieties from our ancestors. It's sitting in our DNA. So I wanted to just sort of draw so you can get a visual representative of this, so to give you a bit better understanding. So I'm going to do a dash. Where are we here? So this is you, okay? This is you right now. You have mother and grandfather and great, all of these generations. Okay, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 20 there. Science can prove at least 14 generations is stored in our DNA, in the cells of our body. Now, we have between 70 trillion and 100 trillion cells that make up our human experience, our human body. So every single one of those cells has stored in it information that has been passed down from all of these generations, okay? All the physical traits, whether we're likely to have, hip pain and whether we're likely to have the cancer gene, as well as whether we've inherited trauma, fears, anxiety, hurts, grief. Who hasn't been through a lifetime and not experienced grief? There could be some generations that have experienced a lot of grief. For example, so their sons went to war, their husband went to war, their brother went to war, and none of them come back. They've had loss after loss after loss after loss. And so there is this massive amount of grief that has been attached to their DNA and then passed down through all the generations. Does that make sense? So back here 100 years ago, 200 years ago, there were pandemics, fear, scarcity, worry, all of that built in, stored in the DNA and whatever. So I want to draw a little thing here so that you can sort of get. So just say 14 generations ago, we had this little bit and it was anxiety, okay? Then the next generation, they lived their life. They had that dot start in their DNA. And then they had a few things happen that caused them more anxiety. So it actually built. So then that size was then built to the next generation. Now, the next generation could have not had a trigger for some reason. It could have just passed on through them. And so the next generations are the same size. But in that lifetime, there was war and there was pandemic and there was this and that and something else. So it grew and grew and grew to be this bigger amount of anxiety or grief, or it can work for any number of emotions. I'm just giving you an idea of how this works. It's like a snowball. So that then was passed to the next generation. All of a sudden, it's a lot bigger than here at this first generation. And then that life experience added some more. And then it went to this generation. And then they added some more. And all of a sudden, down here at you could have, I'm not saying you have, but you could have this mass amount. And you could have felt anxiety for your entire life. Or you could have went beautifully through you were born, you had a beautiful design, you were going along, life was great, and all of a sudden, boom, it was triggered when you were 5, when you were 10, when you were 20, and all of a sudden you have this uncontrollable anxiety that you don't know where it came from. You don't know why you've got it, and you don't know how to deal with it. Does this resonate? All of a sudden, you don't know. You've got this mass amounts, this struggle, and you have no idea. Now, the reason why I want to, and I'm a great drawer, obviously. The reason why I wanted to sort of give you a visual on this is because I think education, understanding, knowledge is the source of power, okay? When we know what it is that's going on within us, we can get some kind of control on it. When we know why we've all of a sudden got anxiety or got depression or got this grief that we just can't, this sadness, this deep sadness, or hurt or anger or resentment, all of these things, they build and build and build and build and build, and they're running your life. But if you understand that it's not just you, if it's not just something that you don't know what it is, you can understand, well, okay, it's not me. And I know I had depression, and it was this massive big thing, and I didn't have any reason, no triggers, there's some little stuff, but no reason for this deep, deep depression that I wanted to go out and, run my car into a tree or jump off a cliff or, not live anymore. I didn't know why. What is wrong with me? I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. There isn't anything wrong with you. We've inherited a ton of stuff. When we know that, we can say, okay, there isn't anything wrong with me. I am not broken. I just have to learn the tools and processes that will help me to work and release and reduce and whatever with this. Now, we have, and I've done another video on the tools and tips and tricks that you can use in the moment for reducing that anxiety, for being able to live with that, for being able to, get that out of your body, because you're feeling physical symptoms with all the stuff that's in here and in the DNA, in all the cells of our body. We've got this feeling, all these beliefs, all of these emotions. Now, anxiety could be, it's not just anxiety, it's fear of driving. I've had a woman, just for an example, a lady had a fear of driving. She had a fear that something was going to happen to her kids. She had a fear of leaving the house. All of these fears. And when she thought about leaving the house, when she thought about the girls going to school or going to a sporting thing or going somewhere where she wasn't having control of them, that's when this symptom of anxiety would build up, and she would have all of the physical symptoms, the heart palpitations and the shaking and all of that goes on. Okay, it's all of this, all of the emotions and all of the beliefs that are in there and all mixed together that create the symptoms of anxiety. And it's in understanding these that we can then create some kind of power to control them. But like a computer, if we go back to that computer analogy, you've got a laptop, it's sitting in the lounge room, you've had it for years and years and years and years, and everyone who's been to the house has gone on and they've played on that computer. Okay, they've been on and they've downloaded all sorts of things. You've done online shopping. You've downloaded sports things and gaming, and goodness knows, they could have gone on and looked at porn. I don't know. But, just imagine there's been, 100 people come through the house, and every one of them have got on and played on the computer, and they've added some kind of download to your machine. Okay, imagine that. Okay, you've got all of these downloads. Now, they have caused glitches and viruses in the system, in the hardware of your computer. Does that make sense? So it is a matter of going in. You've got a couple of different things, right? You can go in and you can uninstall each of those programs. All right, you can try and do a disc clean, a defrag. They're small little things to try and make the hardware run better. You can do a factory reset yourself, or you can take it to a specialist and you can get them to do a complete clean. Now, the one thing that's different, you could go and buy a new computer, but you can't get a new brain. Okay, you're stuck with the body and brain that you've got, so we have to work with that. So don't say, I'll just go and buy a new computer, because we're talking about you. I'm just trying to explain in a metaphor that will help you understand. So you can take your computer to a specialist and get a complete factory reset and have the specialist help it reinstall all the positive programs, the Word doc, and all your McAfee or Norton or the virus control. There are programs in there that are the good positive programs. Okay, so in here, when we've inherited all of this negative stuff, on the opposite side here, we have generations and generations of wisdom, of amazing ancestral wisdom. There were memories of joy and peace and happiness and fulfillment. But for some reason, the negative weighs more. It sort of tips the scale. So we're not living connected to all of these positive programs. We're allowing the negative ones to run our system. Does that make sense? So reinstalling all that positive programming is what's going to tip the scales back. Okay, so that can be done through something like Creatrix is what I do. But if you're looking at those, the tools, the in the moment. Now, anyone who's told you you can't heal or get rid of anxiety has not tried the factory reset. Okay, you need a female factory reset, because you're running a female hardware with female software. And I'll tell you right now, 99% of everything out there in the personal development, in the healing, the modality, the therapy world was created by the male brain for the male brain. Now, males, yes, of course they want to help everyone, but they don't understand that their hardware is different to our hardware. Fundamentally, they know on some level, yes, women are different. They have a period and they can, have babies. They have breasts. But our hormones and all of this inherited stuff, it makes a difference in how we function. Okay, we are more than just, someone who can have a baby. But if you were to think about the program that allows a woman to grow a child, a man does not have that program. And that is a really big program. Whether you've used it or not, whether you can't, whether there are glitches in your system, whether you've chosen not to, you still have the program running. Okay, let me just make that clear. But that program, you do not have to consciously stop and close your eyes and think, oh my God, today I have to grow the spinal column. I have to concentrate. It does it unconscious. That is a program that is running as part of your female unique system, your hardware, your programming, your software. So you require specific female tools and processes and therapies to help you with your female system. And that is the biggest thing that is missing. And that is why most people don't believe that you can fix or heal or live life without all of this emotion, whether it be anxiety, whether it be depression, whether it be grief, whatever, okay? You get the female formula to heal, to do that factory reset, then you can do that. And you can get back to living your best life the way that you were meant to, without all of this inherited stuff. Okay, yeah, it's a really awful drawing, but it sort of gives you an idea, okay, of the visual instead of me just talking about how this is actually working. Yeah? So you can use specific small tools in the moment to help you. There is another video on those, so you don't have to scroll through this one to get to it. A number of different tools that will help you with your anxiety. I want you to remember your female system, your female cycle, which is going to impact when you feel these symptoms more. You could be feeling them all the time, but they could be really heightened, really deep, before your period, because that's when our hormones are really, we're releasing particular ones. Okay, there are so many different hormones that are going, and instead of there are weeks in the month where you're releasing all the happy hormones, and these are the not so happy ones, I guess you could say. All right, so someone did a study on females and when they were admitted to psych wards, and about 80% were the day before or the day of their period, because it is very heightened. Our emotions are so strong at that time that this is when we feel all that emotion most intense. So our female hardware, our female formulated system, makes a big difference to how we're living and feeling and experiencing all of the different symptoms and all of the different emotions. Understanding who you are and how you work makes a difference. Okay, if you know that you're going to be really struggling with symptoms of anxiety on those couple of days before your period, then you can change how you live your life in those couple of days. Not everybody can, obviously, you can't just say, oh, well, I won't go to work those couple of days, but you may isolate yourself from people who trigger you or things that trigger you. You could let the people around you know that, you know what, in these couple of days, every single month, I really struggle. I need you to help me out, or to be more caring or more supportive on these days to help me better function at this time. Does that make sense? Knowing how you work can help you organize in advance for the days when you know that you could be really, really struggling with the symptoms of anxiety. More intense than the rest of the month, say. Okay, so let me know if you would like to know more about your female cycle, because there is a lot in that. We have the months autumn, what have we got? Spring, summer, autumn, winter, we call them. And there are a lot of different hormones being released, a lot of different ways in which you, as your mind, your body, function on each of those weeks, and how you can benefit from understanding that in each of those weeks in your personal life and in your business life as well. So there's a lot in that can help you, not necessarily just for anxiety, but just as a, beautiful functioning female can better work your hardware by knowing all that goes on within all those hormones that are being released. I hope this video has made some sense and maybe got a little bit of clarity around something that nobody else is talking about. Okay, your inherited epigenetics is what the scientific name is. Okay, it is science. This science has been around for about 50 years. Okay, the last 10 years it's talked about a lot more, and it is the science that has worked out that we inherit not just our genetics, but the emotions and the traumas and the beliefs, the patterns and the conditioning that have been passed down through the generations. Okay, if you go back 2 generations, it depends how old you are, your grandparents could have been sent to war. they could have volunteered. There's been a number in the last 100 years where, that has been something that will have affected the emotional state of your ancestors. Pandemic 100 years ago, this pandemic that we've just lived through and still are, could have triggered emotions that were felt 100 years ago when, 3 or 4 generations of great-great-great-grandparents felt when they were in a pandemic. The fear and the worry and the stress, the scarcity. Why was everybody running and buying toilet paper? They didn't understand this primal need to hoard because of this scarcity that had been triggered in their DNA. Does that make sense? That's what I put it down to anyway. And they've just used toilet paper instead of, it could have been anything. Hoarding something because they have this scarcity that was triggered. Why else would people be punching and carrying on ridiculously for toilet paper? They had no real understanding of why. They just this primal need, because it was inherited. It come from, from all of this, and just got stronger and stronger, and it's been triggered in us. All of this fear and this worry and insecurity that we've got right now has caused a lot more anxiety and fear and worry and stress. This release of cortisol is another video where it's, being so toxic to our female system. It has a much bigger impact on our female system than it does the male system too, let me tell you. I'll leave it there. I hope this has helped. Let me know the takeaways that you've got from this, the ahas. If you understand, if you have questions, then you can get back to me on this. But make sure you go and check out the tools that are going to help you in the now, in the moments when you're struggling with anxiety. But if you want a complete factory reset with the actual expert who can do it, then you can also reach out to me and find out a little bit more about that. I hope this has helped and brought some clarity on what is going on within you. Bye for now.